All right, hey, this is John Krasinski, Pittsburgh Soccer Now, with JC Mahan, JC of Avonworth High School, the Lopes. You guys have, for the third straight year, you won the Whippeal. Now the second time in 3 years. You have already made the trip, but you're in Central Pennsylvania. In of all places, ironically, you're in Hershey, getting ready to play in Mechanicsburg. But maybe how's it going? How's the travel? How's everything going with the Avonworth girls?
Oh, great. I mean, we just arrived here in Hershey. I mean, symbolic, I think of, 2 years ago, the girls had a great experience, like you mentioned. So had to hit Chocolate World. So we're the gracious hosts of Hershey High School let us use their facility to do a training session this afternoon. So just super excited. The girls just got out of the bus, stretching their legs, eating some lunch right now.
Excellent. And so, this has been a unique, I think with each year, your team is obviously your program has grown and gotten better, but I think the competition, especially this year, was pretty tough. You had to, obviously you always had to get through, fight through and beat North Catholic, but in section, but obviously to go through the Whitfield playoffs, it wasn't always easy. And then of course Shadyside Academy, you had to play them twice. What was unique about this year's journey to get to this point?
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, I think it's never an easy, right? Especially coming from our section, we have such great teams, and I mean, we matched up with Quaker Valley in the quarterfinals of the Whippeals, and they took us to a 4-3 game. I mean, it from our section, it's going to be very difficult to beat a team in our section three times. So we knew going into that game that was going to be a tough one, and Quaker Valley they've got a lot of young players coming back next year. So I expect them to do some good things again next year as well. So, um, you know, for our seniors, I mean, everybody on this team, they only know at the end of the Whippeal playoffs, they're playing in a Whippeal final. So it's been so awesome. Those seniors, when they were freshmen, we lost to North Catholic in that final. And like you mentioned, won three in a row here. So just super cool experience for them. And now getting to be on this stage here in the States is truly incredible. And I think you mentioned too, growing the program. This is our biggest team that I've ever coached here in my 16 years. So 34 total players, but obviously one team. So it's been fantastic to see the growth of the program and the incoming players, and just knowing that we're going to have waves and waves of them coming up is going to be fun too.
That's a good point. And Avonworth, I mean, you're not exactly a large school district, so just having the numbers too provides that depth that certainly does help, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean next year we graduate 9 this year, and we've got 15 coming in, and I think even going down the pipeline, I see 15 to 20 should be every year coming into the program. So at some point we have to make some decisions on how many we're going to carry on the full roster, but seeing that interest, and even when we're down at Highmark looking up into the stands and I see a bunch of those middle school girls and elementary school girls there, they kind of feel like, hey, that's the expectation of what Avonworth girls soccer is all about. So they want to live up to that when they get up here, hopefully.
Wow, and that's interesting too in terms of the effect that the success has had, and especially in a school district like that, where maybe some kids are borderline whether they want to go and play soccer as they keep getting older and that sort of thing. So that's interesting. And obviously, you're at this point now. Your players have, you get to this point in the tournament. You get this far along. I believe, what is it, 23 games or 24 or 5 games? I mean, and in a lot of short rest. How's your team feeling right now?
I think they feel great. I mean, I've even mentioned that with my coaches, and like, you kind of see how they're all interacting with one another at the start of training and going through some stretching, dynamic stretching that we do at the beginning. And it's like, they're loose. Like, this is kind of a good feeling. And I think having that experience of making deep runs, they expect to be out here. So I know in my earlier career, when we started making the runs, it was like, wait, aren't we done yet? Like we still have training. So it's sort of now built in, which is nice because everybody just knows, hey, we're here to train, and basketball, winter sports,
Yeah.
whatever. Going back to club teams, they know that that's going to be there, but they're all in for the high school season.
Right. And so, this matchup, you're going to play Central Columbia, a team that won it all last year. And they have some talent. Obviously, you have talent. You've played against some of the top teams, above you in other higher classifications this year. You went played a team in Ohio. Um, how do you, before we get into the specific matchup with Central Columbia and some of the talented players they have, just in terms of being battle tested, your group, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, that's why we go with that tough um, non-section schedule. Like you mentioned, Canfield from Ohio, they have a really potent striker. We put Freedom on our schedule, obviously with Shea Bailey playing in there. So having to go against some of those top forwards, helps us prepare, for teams like Central that we're going to be going up against. Our Lopes Cup that we always put on, we played South Fayette in there, so very good defensive team. Also, Central's has that on their resume. They don't give up very many goals. So how do we break them down? So had them in our tournament, and a couple teams. We played General McLean non-section. We also beat them in the state, but a very good team as well. I mean, they were in our position last year here at in the state final, and we played the old, was it Mercyhurst Prep, or now it's Cathedral Prep on the girls' side up in, or Villa Maria. Now that's Cathedral Prep up, and we played them. So yeah, trying to get that high level of non-section play, even stacked with our tough section, gives the girls all that experience to hopefully, hey, you've seen that, it's nothing new that we should have to deal with.
Yeah, and so talk about this opponent. Kayla Kiefer is the one player that stands out for the Blue Jays with Central Columbia. Fiona is committed to Alabama, and she committed to Ole Miss. So I know the SEC doesn't really exist that much in terms of soccer, but it is true. But I guess on the women's side it does, and how interesting is that? But to see those two be on the field. But Keeper, I think she scored 3 goals in one of the PIAA games. And have you had a chance to see them on tape, or how do you prepare for a match like this?
Yeah, we've watched a few of their games. Girls watched it as well. So it's another good forward that we've got to go up against. So we've got to make sure we contain her. Don't give her those opportunities. They like to play the ball in deep, get crosses, they make good runs in the box. So the girls we've prepped them for that. We'll go over a little bit more today just so that they're aware of that. So hopefully we go out there and get that job done. But yeah, I think like you said, it's neat little SEC kind of plug in there, and I think SEC on the women's side is really on the rise. So it's gonna be fun to see 2 players there.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe 10 years ago, we weren't even having this conversation, but ACC. But we're starting to see with this tournament, and we'll see tomorrow. Pitt playing Arkansas will be an interesting matchup as well. So wow. So yeah, in terms of any kind of last minute preparations, obviously you play the early game Friday. What does that mean? In terms of making sure they get enough sleep, all that kind of stuff. I mean, traveling a day early, I guess that helps.
Yeah. We knew, playing that early game, we wanted to get out here early, kind of get our bearings, and we don't want to leave at 4 o'clock in the morning, try to get up here for a 10 a.m. game because you never know what's going to happen on the turnpike. But yeah, so we're here now. We'll go through just get some touches on the ball, nothing crazy. Go over some game planning. Head over, like I said earlier, to Hershey or Chocolate World, have some fun there. Get in. We'll have dinner. We've got a nice dinner catered coming in. Then our athletic trainer is going to lead the girls in some yoga and stretching for a team activity later this evening. And yeah, we'll do lights out nice and early so the girls get a good night's sleep and up and at 'em tomorrow morning.
All right. Well, we will be watching closely. We will have someone out there as well. I'll talk to you offline about that. But yeah, good luck tomorrow. We'll be watching closely here from Pittsburgh, and as Avonworth goes for its first state title. Good luck, JC.
Awesome. Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Sounds good.